Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan. Basically, today we are going to talk about the Formula Award. Basically, next part that is basically 10119. Basically, so here basically in last topic basically we are discussing about the Bollywood power. Basically, so here basically we will be going to discuss about the Bollywood industry basically, and up to what level basically the power has, what actually the Bollywood power is basically. For example, Bollywood power basically connects to many aspects. Basically, we can say that is one of the aspects is um, monetary level power. Basically, we can say. So monetary level power basically you can say one company basically introduced their product basically. Assume the one mobile basically product got introduced. So like this, the cost is of mobile is basically whatever basically cost basically. So like that basically company told that we want this much sale basically from each and every city. So like this basically Bollywood groups are there. So they do the advertising up to the level basically, and they do the marketing up to level. They do the sales up to that level, and they basically achieve the target. So this basically is Bollywood power in the monetary basically you can say, because they have achieved the target, whatever that target basically has given to them basically. So like this basically the target which was given to them, according to the target basically they have achieved the sales basically you can say. That is basically the Bollywood energy basically, on the base of Bollywood energy, you can say that Bollywood energy basically from where we get it's come, that basically we have already discussed. That is basically popcorn, samosas, cold drinks, waters. That basically we have already discussed what is Bollywood energy and how Bollywood energy basically um, is spreading the Bollywood, spreading the energies basically. That basically we have already discussed in long before basically you can say. So like this basically the Bollywood power you can say, up to what level the Bollywood power is. So basically, Bollywood power basically this was the Bollywood power which basically just now we saw. So like this way basically the lots of industry says that we have many powers. We are basically connected with the Bollywood industry. We are basically into certain areas basically we can say. We are into certain groups basically with connected with the Bollywood industry. We are basically connected with the different characters of the Bollywood industry, because according to that basically the things are going to run basically. So like this basically the Bollywood group sets the environment also you can say. So one of the person told that one of the government person told that how basically difficult it is to run the 24 hours basically. So that was told by the government basically, because their situation is like that. They have to keep the control with them. They have to run the city. They have to run the states. They have to run the country basically. They have to run the parliament house. They have to run the Vidhan Sabha. Each and everything basically they have to run. They have to run the court. They have to run the Supreme Courts. They have to run the High Courts. They have to run the city local courts. So each and everything basically they have to run. They have to run the hospital also. They have to run the dispensary also. They have to run the malls also, because they have given the permission to open the mall. So the government will be responsible if the business is not getting to that mall basically, because they have signed and they have legally authorized, and the mall is already prepared. So like this basically they will be responsible for if the mall is not getting business, if mall is getting closed, then basically the person who have signed the authorized letter to open the mall basically his name will be get spoiled. That is basically by default the government names is going to spoil. So just see basically each and everything's basically are connected. So basically government says that to run 24 hours basically it's not so easy basically, it's very tough basically you can say. They have to do the adjustment of each and every sectors. They have to do the adjustment of the each and every IT sectors. They have to do the adjustment of each and every companies. They have to do the each sectors of they have to do the adjustment of any by chance any new energy comes into the market suddenly. So like this is if any new disease comes into the market suddenly, because disease, if disease is coming basically which is not prepared basically, that means basically it suddenly came basically. So it's not that everything is came with planned basically, you can say. So like this, each and every things basically 24 hours the government is telling we have to run 24 hours. It's very difficult. It's not so easy basically to run the 24-hour city basically. So it's not easy to run the city basically, to run the states basically, to run the country basically. So currently I'm in India, so basically that's why I'm telling you city, states and country. So here basically the government is telling that to run 24 hours, it's not so easy because the Earth planet is moving. The India is one of the land basically which is joint with the many countries basically. That basically joint also we have to maintain. For that basically, what are the things we are doing that we only know. The government basically connected with the energy groups basically they only know. They are telling that the power companies who are basically into this industry basically running the earth planet basically, you can say with the sorry the running the India basically with the earth planet, with the world, with the all countries basically, that we only know how basically we are doing. And the in the government is connected with these people, so that is basically the with the power companies, energy companies and nuclear company. So that government is telling how basically it's difficult, that basically we only know. So like this basically to run basically 24 hours with the 24 hours, government is telling that we are running basically 24 hours, and we are running basically government with the each and every sectors basically, we can say we have to connect with the each and every sectors. We have to connect with the each and every industry, then only basically we are able to run the city basically, the state, the country. So you can just imagine basically the government power basically, and government power basically says that we have taken few groups basically, and we have told them basically, let's just see basically how basically we are running the 24 hours. You can just imagine the our basically condition. So few groups also joined them basically. So like this basically government groups told that we have got few trustable group basically, who basically told that they might do our task basically, little bit task. So like this basically government had started the private sector also, that also US or just now. The government has told that we had divided our task to the private sector also, because few people says that how you are running the 24 hours, that's very difficult. So for that basically we are helping you and reducing your work little bit, so that basically you can do some other task also, and to few more tasks basically, and you can do the little bit relaxation also. So for that basically they have started the private sector basically. So lots of basically government sector has been converted to private, but the government is the group basically who are telling that control basically it's with us only. But basically the private sector says that we understand the government's problem basically, so basically we have taken the initiative and we are told that let us run the government stuff basically, whether we can run or not. So like this basically government stuff are run by the private industry basically. So like this basically government is telling how basically it's difficult to run the 24 hours, that basically we have little bit divided to the private sector. So basically 24 hours has been divided by the government industry, government groups basically, to little bit to the power industry, sorry, to the private industry. So like this basically we have divided our 24-hour works to the private sector. We have divided our little bit works to the Bollywood industry. We had divided our little bit work to the software industry. Like this, basically, we had divided our lots of work, and we are basically verifying each and every stuff basically, and we are checking each and every things basically, which is basically on running. So we have kept each and every tracks basically, because we have created the city, we have created the states, we have created the country. So we basically know basically how the things are basically getting created, because previously only government was there. So government has only created the cities, states and country. So that time basically only government was there. So each and every cities basically how the cities are getting running basically, that only basically the government people only have the knowledge. So few knowledge basically are shared by the government to the private industry. So like this basically Government is telling that little bit percentage of the task basically we are shared with the private industry, and they also might be telling that how it's very difficult to run the 24 hours, how it's very tough to run the 24 hours in the city basically, how basically it's tough basically to run one city, one states, and one country. So to pass the 24 hours basically for government basically it's not so easy task, it's not so easy stuff basically, that also you can say when basically government will tell that we are doing this all stuff basically. For example, nuclear company, power company, and energy companies, that basically companies also we are handling it. So they are basically into the land side basically, they are also into the land side, how the earth planet is moving and how the earth planet is connected with the whole of world basically. That also basically you can see. So like this basically the government are basically telling that how it's very tough to run the 24 hours basically. So basically who are basically is running the stuff basically, they can only will able to understand basically how it's tough to run the 24 hours. Because here basically we were talking, we are given, we had just saw one small example basically, that is basically the land basically, how the earth planet is moving in the universe basically. In that basically India is the little bit land basically, and how basically the nuclear company, power companies, and energy companies are telling that how basically we are running the India, moving the India, that basically we only knows. So in that basically the with the government are telling that we are working with the nuclear power company and energy companies and power companies, that basically we only know basically how we are running the 24 hours basically. So you can just imagine the basically the stuff basically who are basically connected with the governments. This is that up to how the basically tough basically stuff is basically to handle the government basically. I will take one more example of the government basically, how dangerous government stuff is. For example, there are 200 crore people basically. So 200 crore people are basically eating the foods. So whenever they are eating the foods basically, that time basically blood cells does not generate. And that time basically after certain time basically the blood cells get generated, and after certain days basically the oxygen gets inside the inside the body of that particular blood cell. So how basically we are handling that stuff basically of for the 200 crore, that we only knows, that government only knows, the 24 hours basically how we are running, how basically things are basically we are handling, that basically we only know. There were the 200 crore basically body is not supposed to happen anything basically, because we are passing the oxygen to their body basically. That time basically their body is not supposed to get damaged, their head is not supposed to damage, their leg is not supposed to damage, their eye is not supposed to damage. So that basically stuff basically we are taking care of each and everything basically. So that stuff basically we are doing it, that is basically 24 hours, by running the 24 hours the each and every cities and each and every states and each and every countries basically. So like this basically we could Bollywood industry says that we have also taken few initiative of this basically, that is basically businessman healthcare basically, you can say health industry basically, you can say business that but we have just I had just taken one example of the businessman basically, how basically businessman takes care of the one health basically, you can say. And how Bollywood industry says that we have created one project for that businessman, that is basically health is wealth of the businessman. So like this, that also we have saw basically one example, just few videos before basically. So like this, basically, you can government is telling the house tough basically task is of our basically, that we only understand, we only know, and the people who basically connected with this, connected with us basically, they basically can understand basically our tough task basically, you can say. So how we are handling each and everything basically, that government only knows basically. So 24 hours to handle each and every stuff basically the government only knows. That government is telling that how we are handling that we only knows basically. How we are handling that basically we only knows basically, we can say. So there are each and every 200 crore people basically, the who are going to eat the stuff basically, and their bodies are not supposed to damage, their head are not supposed to damage, their hands are not supposed to get damaged. Like this, basically, generally things basically we have to take care, and we are doing that also. The we are basically doing that also. We are not damaging anybody's head. We are not damaging anybody's hand. We are not damaging anybody's legs. Like this, basically, we are taking care of the each and every stuff basically. So this is basically the 119th number, and 120 basically we are going to see a little bit more about the Bollywood industry.